support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much. And now I'll turn things over to Justice Breyer.
Good. The judicial oath. Will you raise your right hand, please? Thank you. I, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will administer justice.
That I will administer justice.
Without respect to persons.
Without respect to persons.
And do equal right.
And do equal right.
To the poor and to the rich.
To the poor and to the rich.
And that I will faithfully and impartially.
And that I will faithfully and impartially.
Discharge and perform.
Discharge and perform.
All the duties.
All the duties.
Incumbent upon me.
Incumbent upon me.
As an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
As an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Under the Constitution.
Under the Constitution.
And laws of the United States.
And laws of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Now, on behalf of all of the members of the court, I am pleased to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
And with that very ceremonial, perhaps perfunctory, but historic moment, a new Justice of the
By someone who's also worked to defend some of those who come before judges, and it's viewed as a significant moment. We heard from the president earlier today. He has been frustrated, obviously, with the direction of the court, most notably after the recent decision reversing Roe v. Wade. Today, he referred to the court's quote, outrageous behavior that he said was destabilizing. And Ketanji Brown Jackson really did get a front row seat to the deeply divided country we now live in during her confirmation process, where she was repeatedly attacked by Republican members of the Judiciary Committee who alleged that she was soft on crime. Nonetheless, she received the votes that she needed from the Democratic Congress, does become a justice right now, and she does begin a new term that's likely to last decades. She also is a fresh voice, a fresh face at 51. She is 33 years younger than the man she replaces, Stephen Breyer. And the hope in the eyes of President Biden and those in the White House with whom I speak is that she will help make this court look a bit more like America. And for that reason, among others, today is certainly a historic day, Lester.
Peter, thank you for that. NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins me right now. Yamiche, as we've noted, this has not changed the ideological balance of the court. If you could reflect a little bit on the court, though, that she is now joining, the pressure it's been under, the image, the damage to its image that many have perceived over the last several days.
Well, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson becomes Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson at a time where the court is facing more pressure and more criticism than it has in the past. Of course, we know that that ruling where the justices decided to overturn Roe v. Wade has really turned the nation's attention to that. There have been protests there. There's been security issues there. So this really is now Justice Jackson joining a group of people who are really dealing with and wading through the pressures and really divisive nature of our politics here. She is not, as you say, changing the balance of the court, but we have to again pull back and say it took 233 years for a Black woman to sit where she is now going to be sitting, and it is not by coincidence, Lester. Black women had been locked out of the Supreme Court. Qualified women had been pushed over and looked over for this position. I want to also tell you that I've been texting with some of her friends, some of her closest friends who have been with her since her days at Harvard University. Here's what Judge Najiri Rutledge told me. I'm filled with joy and hope despite what she called a disappointing Supreme Court decision that turns back 50 years of precedent. I am filled with pride that history is being made. Another one of her friends, Antoinette Coakley, told me, and she's someone who was at the White House and who the judge actually called out by name as someone who supported her. She said, "We are honored here to stand in support of her. Today is a day of celebration, of jubilee, of a dream realized." One other friend, Kimberly Jenkins Robbins, she said to me, despite the challenging times we are living in, the world is, she said, a bit brighter as Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson becomes a justice. Her wisdom, dedication, and integrity will strengthen our nation and our judiciary. My heart is full with joy for her and her family. So there you have it, some of her closest friends reflecting on how happy they are for her, how excited they are for her, but also really nodding at the history that you were just talking about, Lester, talking about the fact that they understand that their friend is taking this seat during a really, really fraught time in our nation's history.
All right, Yamiche, thank you. Neil Katyal is an NBC News legal analyst, and he joins me now. Neil, there is a tendency to kind of predict where a particular justice will go, what camp they're going to be in. Too soon to tell what kind of justice she'll be?
I think so. So I have three reactions to today. One is that I think Ketanji Brown Jackson, as Yamiche just said, is going to be a kind of historic person on the court, someone who's broken boundaries, who's brilliant, and so on. Second, Justice Breyer retiring is a huge loss to the court. He's obviously being replaced by someone amazing, but this is a guy who has so much humility and tried to bring the court together wherever he could. He was a law professor, but it's actually the kind of extremists on the court who've been acting like true law professors, like just writing things out and imposing their will on the nation. And so this kind of change in the Supreme Court comes at a very fraught moment. We've had a week at the Supreme Court that is unlike any week that the Supreme Court's had or any term since at least 1935. It is that conservative, not just on abortion, not just on guns, not just on climate, but so many other things. And we're going to be looking to Justice Jackson to try and lead the court out of this mess. But boy, she has her work cut out for them, because this group of justices is acting in the most conservative and extreme way we've seen in our lifetimes.
Do you think a new justice changes the tone of the conversation, how the justices work together, how they work up decisions?
Yeah, so it's said that when a new justice joins the court, it remakes the other 8. And that can be sometimes true. I guess it's a little different here because I do see Justice Jackson, who clerked for Justice Breyer, continuing a lot of his traditions. So I don't feel like it's a huge shift. And I also think that if this term is any indication, the conservatives on the court are not as interested in engaging with their colleagues. They have a muscular majority, and they are using it in very extreme ways. So, if anyone can pull this off, it's Justice Jackson in trying to moderate the extremist tendencies of this court, but it is a very difficult challenge.
Neil Katyal, thank you for that. That concludes our NBC News special report on the historic swearing in of Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'll have much more on this evening on NBC Nightly News. For now, in New York, I'm Lester Holt. Good day.
United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Now I ask all the members of the court